don't know about you guys, but I really miss this guy here. Lisandro Martinez is currently a massive miss for Manchester United. United need him back. Ten Hag in particular really needs him back. The question is, why? What is it about Lisandro Martinez which is so good? And what is this current United side missing without him in the team? Well, you know how we do things here on the AJ Analysis channel. We don't just ask the question, we also provide the answer. And I'll give you a really quick, short answer. The reason... Wait, hang on, that short pun wasn't intended, by the way. The reason we really miss Lisandro Martinez is because he is unbelievably good at progressing the football through the thirds. He's unbelievably good at picking the ball up in this sort of position here and moving the ball forward. And this is something which is really, really important to United currently. And the reason it's so important is because United don't progress the ball with their midfielders. If we look at someone like Arsenal, Declan Rice really moves the ball forward. Rodri does the same for Manchester City. When we look at United, when we've got midfield two of McTominay and Eriksen, we don't see high volume ball progression in the middle of the pitch. And this was evident yesterday against Luton, where if we look here, we can see that Victor Lindelof and Maguire were by far the two most progressive players on the pitch. Now this means that if United's midfielders can't progress the ball, the centre-backs have to do it. And again, we can see that in this graph. However, what this graph doesn't show is how they were progressing the ball, particularly with their passing. And what we saw in this particular game yesterday was that Harry Maguire and Lindelof were reduced to switching the ball long because they couldn't play the ball through the middle. Because their ball manipulation, short passing, things like that wasn't good enough. So whilst, again, in these stats it looks good, Lindelof and Maguire progressed the ball incredibly well, they were doing it via long passing. What we need to see eventually at United is ball progression through the middle of the pitch, on the floor. However, like I've said already, Maguire and Lindelof are not good enough at doing that. Lisandro Martinez is. And the reason Lisandro Martinez is good at doing that is because his first touch is really good, his close control is really good, he buys time, he has natural pauser, and is incredibly press resistant and also good in the take-on. And we can see that in his FB ref report here, where he ranks in the 90th percentile for take-ons attempted, the 98th percentile for successful take-ons, and the 89th percentile for successful take-on percentage. He also ranks in the 92nd percentile for times tackled during take-on, and the 92nd percentile for tackled during take-on percentage. Very, very good on the ball. And this is something which is incredibly important to United, because Lisandro Martinez is able to manipulate possession. So let's say Harry Maguire has the ball in a stationary position here, and McTominay, for example, is going to play as the 6 on this occasion. What a striker for the opposition is going to do, 9 times out of 10, is cut this passing lane to prevent the pass being played here. Now, a player like Harry Maguire, when faced with this problem, doesn't really have that much of a solution, not to find Scott McTominay, because Maguire isn't a player which is agile, good on the turn, he doesn't move the ball about a lot, he's quite slow in the way in which he moves the ball, which makes it really easy for this defender to cover this passing lane. Even if Maguire, does change direction, he does so quite slowly, allowing his player to move across. Whereas with a player like Lisandro Martinez, what we get is a player who takes lots of little touches, and we'll have a look at this in a second to explain it in more depth and more detail. But what I'm talking about is, let's say the ball is in the middle here, it's easy for this forward to follow. What someone like Lisandro Martinez does is then quickly touches the ball onto his left foot, which causes this subtle movement here, but then he'll quickly shift the ball to the other side, and because he's a good passer, this is now just about enough room for him to get the pass through. Now this is micro analysis. We're talking about a really small, in-depth detail here. We can talk about a lot with Lisandro Martinez, his aggression out of possession, his forward passing through the thirds, his long passing, things like that. But for me, it's this ability to manipulate the ball which is the most important thing, which is currently lacking. And I want to explain this in more depth using Once Video Analyzer Pro. It's a great video analysis software, which you guys can check out using the link in the description. Highly recommend it. But we have it here. Lisandro Martinez has got the ball in a left centre-back position, and we can see Brighton are around the ball. They're not pressing particularly high right now. They've got players marked, but all their players are quite static. What we can also see is that Harry Maguire is not a passing option, because Daniel Welbeck is on the ball. So what can Lisandro Martinez do here? Realistically, not a lot. He can maybe put the ball forward into this sort of channel here, but when you do that, you're kind of forcing a chaotic transitional game. This is the sort of pass which someone like Lindelof, Johnny Evans or Harry Maguire would do. They would look to put this ball into this area. And to be fair, that's pretty reasonable. We can see, like I've said, all of the United players are marked. However, Lisandro Martinez approaches the game in a very, very different way. Instead, what he does is he takes his time on the ball. So first of all, he's going to beat this first man, which has pressed him, incredibly well. But what we can still see is that all of these United players are still tied up under pressure, and there is still no passing option for Lisandro Martinez except going long, which again, we don't want to do. We want to work the ball on the floor through the middle. How do you do that? You do this. You beat your man first, like Lisandro Martinez has done here, and then you slow it down. You can see here, the ball has stopped. Lisandro Martinez has beaten his man, and now he is playing with pausa, which is just taking your time on the ball, taking a second and controlling the tempo in a different way to what we typically expect. Now, one of the benefits of this is that it's going to allow your teammates to move into different positions. Whereas before, all of our midfielders were tied up, perhaps now, because Lisandro Martinez has taken a bit of time, I can move in midfield into a different position. So that is one benefit. The other benefit is that the second I do this, put my studs on the ball, the opposition see this as a trigger to go and press the ball, because it looks like you're almost not ready to release the ball. It looks like you're susceptible to a bit of pressure being applied. So Brighton are going to take this trigger here and go press the ball. We're going to see 3 players do it. These 2 are going to go towards the ball. Danny Welbeck is going to drop a little bit deeper onto this midfielder. All because Lisandro Martinez is taking his time on the ball. He's slowing the play down. The only player in the Manchester United squad, apart from maybe Luke Shaw, which does this on a regular basis, stands on the ball and buys his time. What this does is, like I've said, certain midfielders have now moved into different positions, but more importantly, it draws the Brighton players onto him. Now if we look at the gap, is this just behind me? No, we're good. If we now look at the gap that Harry Maguire has to Danny Welbeck, he now has a lot of room. Suddenly Lisandro Martinez can work the ball to Harry Maguire and the move can be played out from there. Now to some of you, this is going to feel like such an unnecessary little detail to talk about. But trust me, at the top level for a possession side, in a league where teams are so good defensively in a mid-block but also in a high press, this is worth so much to Erik ten Hag and his side. A player which, rather than putting that ball into the channel early, slows down, draws pressure onto him, knowing that he has the press resistance and the ability to beat them, meaning that his mate over the other side of the defence is now going to be free and have time to receive the ball. That is so valuable to this United side. We've got another example here. Now this one's a little bit different. This is less about absorbing pressure and trying to play out from the back. This is more about trying to break a team down now. So what we've got again is Lisandro Martinez in the middle of a back 3, and what we can see is that the Everton front 2 are nice and compact, nice and narrow. So if Lisandro Martinez plays this ball out to Harry Maguire, it's incredibly easy for Demarai Gray to get out and go apply pressure, right? Incredibly easy. Because of his body orientation, it's really easy to go and close the ball down the second the pass gets played to Harry Maguire. In fact, Demarai Gray is basically begging Lisandro Martinez to do it. He's going, go on, put that pass out there, and then we can engage our press. That's literally what Everton are trying to do here. That is the game plan. Lisandro Martinez, though, doesn't fall for it. And again, I genuinely believe he is one of the only players in the world which can do this. That's how good he is at doing this. What he does is he manipulates the ball, and therefore he manipulates the Everton players. So again, watch his front 2 there, currently in line with each other and ready to press the ball the second it goes wide. So what Lisandro Martinez is going to do is initially slow down and take his time on the ball. Now once again, the benefit of that is that players around him can move, but also that he can move the Everton players. So what Lisandro Martinez does is he does this. He drops the shoulder, drops the hips and moves to a left-hand side. Now, of course, the immediate effect of this is that these 2 Everton players now think, okay, he's coming down this way. So we probably need to start shaping our body, just turning a little bit to deal with the ball going that way. Now, initially, Everton don't actually really take the bait. What Lisandro Martinez does next, though, is then turns the other way. He then turns back the other way. Now what we can see is that Demarai Gray, look at his body positioning. This left foot is now forward. Again, we're talking about micro details here. Demarai Gray's left foot, in fact, we'll even zoom in on it just to kind of highlight exactly who I'm talking about. His left foot is now the forward foot. So if this pass is now to go out wide, it's much more difficult for Demarai Gray to get on the turn. It's much more difficult for him to turn. Now he's now taken an extra step forward. The right foot has now come forward as well. He is now fully getting ready to engage Lisandro Martinez because he's taken so much time on the ball. He's kind of twisted and turned. It looks like we can go press him. As an Everton player, in my head, this guy's dilly-dallying on the ball. He doesn't want it. Let's go nick it. No, Lisandro Martinez is drawing you in just enough, getting your body position wrong, and by the time Demarai Gray realises, it's too late and Lisandro Martinez can play the ball past him and to Harry Maguire, who now has all the time in the world to step forward. So rather than receiving the ball back here, he's received it much higher up the pitch and he can step forward and be threatening. So rather than Everton using this as a way to trigger their press, it's now actually a problem for them because they've got to run backwards. And again, it is all because of Lisandro Martinez. Again, this is a real small fine detail we're talking about here, something we don't really often go to on the channel. But I felt that yesterday against Luton, granted this video probably won't be up for a few days yet, probably Tuesday, but what we saw in that game against Luton was centre-backs who were able to progress the ball, and we saw it in the numbers, but a lot of it was with long passing. If United want to get the ball on the floor and moving through the middle of the pitch again, we desperately need Lisandro Martinez. And the reason we need Lisandro Martinez is because he has the technical ability to draw people onto him, play with pauser, beat his man, but just draw pressure and make room for other players. And like I said, it does work. It's something which Lisandro Martinez does incredibly well. Now, the second you draw players onto you, like we've seen already, it's going to open up room for other people. It's really quite simple. It's the closest thing to a dribbling player that United have in the centre of the park. It's not ideal. United need more further forward. But Lisandro Martinez is a big step closer to the football which I think Erik ten Hag wants to play at the football club. When Lisandro Martinez returns, I think we'll see a drastic change in the way that United play. So that's why United are missing Lisandro Martinez, and it's why Ten Hag is missing Lisandro Martinez, and it's why you should be too. Because trust me, this all looks like a really fine detail. We're talking about a stud on the ball, changing the opposition from this to this. That's all we're talking about here. But at this level, in a mid-block, in a high-pressing league, it is a real big asset to the side. That's why Lisandro Martinez is so important. Hopefully I've managed to explain that to you guys today. Because, again, this is such a small detail. It's something which a lot of people won't look at. Hopefully by breaking this down, you guys have got a bit more of an understanding. And it'll be interesting to see if you can spot it moving forward. So perhaps in United's next game, which will now be after the international break, look for players taking the time on the ball and look for the way they're moving the ball with little touches to try and draw the opposition onto them. You'll notice it doesn't happen that often at the moment, but I also think you notice that the second this guy returns, it probably will start happening again. Also, get in the comments and let me know what you think of this in general. Have I explained it well? Do you miss Lisandro Martinez as much as I do? All of that, let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.